Salutations, everyone. I am back, right back again. I just, couldn't resist. I had to do another reaction video. Hey, it is what it is. But I'm actually a fan of this content creator. He goes by Mediocre Tutorial Reviews, MTR for short. Very intelligent man, very, just very like his views and his perspective on the different content that he does is very refreshing. Actually, it's very is not one dimensional. He hits different layers. So I just thought I would react. Actually, I just want to do a fresh reaction. I only saw the intro preview of the video that he's reacting to as well. It's about a woman, a doctor who happens to be a woman who says that it's healthy to cheat in a marriage. So, and that this has always been the this has always been the general this is like this been a general goal for men for years, having this desire to do this and using it as a means to an end, whether they want to say they're addicted to sex, it's like a sex addiction, or they decide to be polyamorous or polygamy, any means to have multiple affairs, however you want to call it, open marriage, however you want to label it. It's just, any way to satisfy the means to an end, they're going to do that. But of course, when a woman takes on that, it's going to be very empowering. I'm quite sure there's going to be a ton of women that's going to be like, yes, yes. We get tired of men doing this all the time, and they, look for ways to do this. But now a woman is doing it. Two wrongs don't make it right. We all know how that works. But let me just go ahead and let's just watch this video, and I'm going to do like a reaction to his reaction. All right, let's go. Okay, there we go.
Each and every day, the more clear that this world is a circus and it's currently being run by clowns. Let's get active on this topic. You guys remember the website? I've gone over this in the past before, Psychology Today. Now, when I've gone over the website previously, it was specific to the initial place that I found this male loneliness epidemic. Now, they created content based off of research studies, and they changed around the data to their own liking in order to get clicks and views for their feminist ideologies. Well, they're back again on their bullshit. And the article that I have for you guys here today is simply incredible. All right. Essentially, they're speaking about how modern day women today within modern marriages are finding a new amazing way to keep their marriages intact. And what's that way? To cheat. Yep. Research was done by this lovely young woman up here at the top. Her name is Alicia M. Walker. Now, she's a PhD with a sociology degree, right? The study of humans and human behavior. And she's essentially concluding a bunch of different things. Now, she is, according to her own words, not advocating for infidelity, but she's absolutely justifying it. All right. Now, I may come back to this article, but there's actually a video that I found of her speaking about her research and what has she found. Let's go through the video first and then maybe double back into the article. Without further ado.
How is society changing when it comes to infidelity? There are more reasons than you may think why women stray outside of their primary relationships. According to Ashley Madison, the #1 website worldwide for married dating and affairs, people sometimes stray to stay. Joining us now is Alicia Walker, a PhD and author of The Secret Life of the Cheating Wife, with the inside scoop about infidelity and how it pertains to folks here in Charm City. Alicia, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So first things first, you say that the reasons that people might stray, they go beyond just what we think in our imaginations. And Ashley Madison actually had a survey that co-signed that. Can you explain a little bit some of these reasons?
Sure. I, like everyone else, thought the reasons were very simple before I did the study. But what I found was more than half of the women I talked to were either in sexless marriages or marriages where the sex was not fulfilling. And so that drove them outside the relationship. Now, they got more from those relationships than just sex, but that was a primary motivator.
Now, typically the sexless marriage topic is male dominated. More often than not, you will hear men complain about S-less marriages as opposed to women. So let's just take that at face value. Let's say that we believe her on that one. The other one was way more interesting. Unfulfilling. This is one of the many reasons outside of the stats and statistics, and I can show you that as well as to why body count matters. See, the stats say that the less bodies that she's accumulated, the less likely that she will try to divorce. If she's experienced all of these different flavors of eggplants with different RPMs attached to them, if you know what I'm saying, then she will be less likely to be long-term satisfied than the man that gets down on bended knee for her. It's kind of like, let's say you walk into an ice cream store and there's 50 options of ice cream and you pick out a top 3 flavor. You go back the next week, those 3 flavors are gone. And you're like, shit, only got brambleberry crisp left and blueberry muffin flavor. Shit, those are good. They're okay, but those are not the top 3 that I had before. And I may continue to long for the top 3, even though they are no longer available. Now, if I never had those 3, would I long for them? No.
So
Okay, so I'm going to pause it there real quick. Just to want to, I wanted to make sure that I had just wanted to make sure that the context was there before I reacted to it. And so the unfulfillment, and like he said, a lot of times men usually have those reasons, but I also want to go back to women feeling like they're unfulfilled. And sometimes, most of the time, when a woman cheats, of course, is to me, I mean, there was a time when I felt like it was a double standard. When a man cheats, is a badge of honor, but when a woman cheats, they're whores and they have no value. Even the body count, a woman could have just a few partners, and it's considered whorism for some men. But I just think that also a reason why a woman may decide to go astray because she might feel neglected. A man that doesn't really have the work-life balance concept down packed, and they prioritize their career more so than the family. And just like a pastor may prioritize their church more than the family. So I think a lot of women have that in common. Also, I think that when MTR was talking about the different flavors, different options, a lot of times women may not have different options because they married a high school sweetheart. They married a college sweetheart. They only dated and had a relationship with one man all their life. So that's all they know. They have nothing to compare it to. So I just wanted to kind of add those elements as well. So let me go back.
That was a primary motivator, but then it continues because it's not just about the physical act.
Right. They talked about having these sort of friendly relationships with their outside partner. Sometimes that person can offer insight into your relationship with your spouse, how good it feels to feel desired and wanted, and somebody with similar interests or hobbies that you can have a good conversation with. So it is more than just sex, but sex may be the motivator.
And so we see Ashley Madison's figures here from that survey.
Mm-hmm.
So they talk about that, the new desires, the affection, the friendship, and that feeling of butterflies again. That's interesting.
God.
So when you were reading their survey.
So this was asked directly to women. What's crazy in this is that, look, why do you cheat? 42% says friendship. So you cheat to be friends?
Bullshit. It's bullshit. Global bullshit. I call bullshit.
This just keeps getting better and better, baby.
Butterflies again. That's interesting. So when you were reading their survey findings and you have your own book and this research, there was a lot that co-signed each other, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Everybody I talked to said similar things to what we just saw on that graph. That feeling of butterflies came up again and again. I remember one woman I talked to said, it's difficult to keep that going in a marriage. You just can't keep that kind of level level of
And challenge
excitement and butterflies and newness.
You know,
So you cheat?
that you can
you
get in
challenge
an
yourself
outside partner.
to maintain
Was there
that
something
self-marriage.
in the survey that surprised you? I think I read here the respondents of the survey said that having an affair was worth it by and large. That surprised me as a married woman. I was clutching my pearls a little bit, but it said, what was it, like 71%?
I believe it was 71. Yeah, I think it was 71%. Yeah, I found similar sorts of things in my book as well. And it is shocking, right? We think to ourselves, that sounds like so much work
Yo, this is so
and so much
crazy.
time and the logistics of explaining where you're
Hold on. 29% said, I regained my confidence. Confidence for what? To go back to your husband so he can now have a turn?
and so much time and the logistics of explaining where you're supposed to be,
Yes.
right? But the people I talked to said, I am cheating to stay in my marriage.
Talk about that, because I feel like a lot of people are going to watch this right now and be like, yeah, right. This is some hooey. But I mean, the survey said that a lot of people were straying to stay.
Yes.
Why stay if you want to stray?
That's an interesting question. And when I started the study, I had those same kind of questions myself. But what I found was these people are talking about marriages and relationships and families that really work very well. They love their partners. They don't want to not be married to their partner, but they're existing in some kind of sexual desert, if you will, where they've just gone years and years without any kind of sexual fulfillment. And so they say, you know, I came to this decision where either I have to cheat.
How about counseling, therapy, maybe romance, maybe do the things that you do the things that made you fall in love with each other in the first place. Because I mean, that's what we suggest to the men, right? We always say that, you know, instead of taking the coward way out by outsourcing, don't we want to challenge ourselves with the ability to still make ourselves enough for that other person, you know, to make ourselves available to only them and exclusive to them, and not want to feel like you have to share your time, your intimacy, your, you know, a part of yourself. Because when you people don't understand the whole idea about when you lay with someone, your spirit and your soul from that person, it transfers over to the next one and the next one and the next one, and then you want to circle back to the spouse again. Really? And like I said, I'm not trying to judge or and look down. Like I said, whatever you decide to do, that's between you and God, like I always say. But I don't have to agree with it, and I really don't, you know. And for me personally, I don't know. I still struggle with where I stand on the desire for marriage or being in a relationship, because honestly, I've been single for some years now. But if I'm going to be in the space, I'm going to be in the space with that individual. So all this feeling like you have to cheat, that tells me right there that you value yourself too much. You know, the lack of self-value is there because you don't feel like you're enough, or you don't believe that your spouse is enough. But let me go ahead and see let me let her finish what she had to say.
Or I'm going to have to bust up my happy home and break.
You know what's crazy about this is that when men say things like this, there's upheaval. When women say things like this, it gets standing ovations and articles written in Psychology Today about it.
My spouse's heart and take my kids away from their other parent, and they didn't want to do that. So for them, outsourcing the sex, if that makes sense,
Wow. Yeah.
was a, you know, a legitimate, reasonable answer.
So as we're wrapping up, when people are reading your book, was there something that even you found surprising in your research?
Yes, so much was surprising. One of the big things was the fact that women talked a lot about maintaining multiple affairs.
Wow.
I kind of went in thinking, oh, they've got a husband and one person outside, but that's
I'm sorry, that makes me think of something. Affair. I don't need commitment. I don't need someone to tell me how I feel. Affair. I don't want no problems. I just want to be close to you. Oh, I'm sorry. Shout out to Sherelle.
that was not the case for many of them. They were sort of juggling partners, and their reasoning made sense. They said, I've already put all my needs into one person and depended on them, my spouse, and that's not worked out for me. So why would I do that again
My goodness.
in an affair?
Your book sounds fascinating.
Thank you.
If people want to get it, it's at anywhere bookstores or anywhere books are
You know,
sold.
Yes, absolutely. You can get it on
It's
Amazon.
for me.
Right. Yes. Perfect. So check that out. The Secret Life of the Cheating Wife.
Now there's an expectation for men to still be prioritizing marriage in our modern day society here today when we have justifications. We have the truth. Seems like the women nowadays are not even believing in happily ever after no more. Maybe.
And yes, I'm thinking the same thing. I mean, doesn't it scare you all? I mean, I'm not trying. I mean, I'm personally will never, ever deter anyone or make them fear marriage or commitment. I mean, not at all. But it's just like, it's just not how we are nowadays. I mean, I'm noticing that women are becoming more of the man in these circumstances, in these scenarios, right? Because we always complain about the men and how they want to play the field and want to act single even when they're married, and we always demand so much from them. But it's like now we're just like, you know, I am woman, hear me roar, but just in the wrong aspect though, because it's like now we're becoming we give it the same type of masculine energy into these relationships. I noticed that, now that it's becoming more of like a reverse effect. And I think, I feel like women want us to feel more powerful. They feel like they feel like they more in control, because they feel like, okay, if men are going to continue to do this, I'm going to protect myself. And I think that's what it is too. I think it's a form of they're in protective mode. A lot of women are in protective mode. So let me cheat on my spouse. Let me just kind of make this arrangement. I wonder if the husbands are able to do the same thing though. I wonder if that applies. Remember I mentioned about how open marriage is normally one-sided. The man usually benefits from the open marriage scenario. So I'm wondering in her point of view, when a woman feel like they could benefit from being a cheating wife, because they lack fulfillment or whatever else it is that they're lacking in their marriage. I wonder if the husband is able to seek the same type of fulfillment as well. All right, so let's go back, shall we?
The entire time it was a complete and utter guise. There used to be a gold standard where the women were virgins and there was like this understanding, and that shit went all away when we encroached on the sexual revolution. And the thing is that generally is thought of within people who are single, but apparently it's not. It's also a thing that happens within marriage as well. And to know that the general sentiment today of some of these modern day ladies is to cheat to keep. But the reality of this is that this is some straight feminist ass shit. Why? Because when you consider sex between both men and women, we cannot equate those two things, right? It's an act, but from a physiological perspective, we are different. And because of those differences, whether it be hormonally, whether it be actually physically with our innies versus our outies, we cannot treat it the same, which is why I say that women cheating is far more diabolical than a man cheating. It's all wrong. It's all lying. It's all incorrect. I don't think nobody should be doing it, but it has far more consequences onto women than to men. But this type of content is sort of masculinizing women as to say that they can be, doing these things with little to no repercussions. And in fact, it's a benefit because it saves marriages. I mean, just look at the language in this Psychology Today article. Cheating to stay in a marriage. For these women, an affair wasn't about replacing their spouse. It was about filling a gap. They tried to communicate their needs, but nothing changed. Rather than stewing in frustration or resentment, they found that an affair allowed them to meet their needs elsewhere, easing tension at home and helping them stay in their marriage. Instead of growing distant or bitter, they felt more patient, engaged, and even affectionate in their day-to-day life.
Or they just wanted to remain they wanted to be more secure in their desirability, even if that's a word, because I know as we get older as women, and just speaking from personal, I'm speaking from personal space as well, to where as women, as we get older, I feel like a lot of times we feel less desirable, because, looks fade or whatever. And I know that when I was, back before I had my son, when I was 18, 19 in college or whatever, when I was younger, I was much more desirable. I mean, I had gotten quite a bit of attention, I was considered beautiful in every which way, and it made me feel good because I always had self-esteem issues. I'm just giving you some full disclosure. I always had self-esteem issues. I always felt subconscious about myself in different ways. And, just, especially with my complexions, because when I, into college, I had got so many compliments on my complexion when I never had before. And so I think a lot of times as we get older, we sometimes, even when if we are settled into our relationships, we want to kind of, some women, I'm not saying I would do this, but in the marriage, they probably feel like, if they want to follow this model here, they probably feel like if another woman, I'm sorry, another man finds them interesting enough and attractive enough, they're going to take it there because they want to feel more desirable, so, it could be that as well. And I think it's satisfying a sense of insecurity. There's got to be some insecurity there. I mean, I know there may be some people that may deny this factor about the whole insecurity part, and this is something that they choose to do, for other reasons, but it starts there. It starts there. All righty.
Lives. They weren't looking for the one, they were looking for Mr. Now and Then. Love, feelings, emotional attachments. Again, this is psychology today justifying this behavior that anybody can look at this and be like, well, she's a whore, right? Like, let's just call it what it is. Let's call it a spade a spade. She lacks discipline and she can't figure out any other way besides cheating to try to save the marriage. How about having honest conversations? How about going to a therapy? Shit, a therapist. Trying anything else besides just going towards cheating. But the articles don't say nothing about that. I found that these women designed their affairs with military precision. This is what I talk about, that women cheat more covertly than men cheating overtly. Strict rules, clear boundaries, and zero risk of anybody catching feelings. But let's talk about another practical moves these women made, not putting all their eggs in one basket. Many women maintain multiple affair partners at once, not because they were greedy. How is that not because you're greedy?
Yeah, it is.
Because they've already learned from marriage that relying on just one man for everything was a risky bet. They didn't learn that from being married. They learned that from the feminist propaganda and their single ass thought girlfriends that they have around them. So they kept a roster or a herd of partners to ensure they always had options. All of this content right here goes more to show that secular marriage, there's no goddamn point. If there's not a religious reason to get married, right, and you're not rooted in a belief system, then what is the goddamn point? They can be infiltrated with Western ideology, and then they have a roster while the guy is up at work working hard as shit. The guy is mentally taxed. And because of that tax, it may be harder for him to fulfill some of these duties and obligations from a sexual perspective. So instead, they get their back blown out by the black neighbor next door. Now, to add on to this content, I found a story of a man being cheated on by his wife, but is too scared to confront her. Let's watch.
I recorded my wife cheating on me, and I can't stop watching it. Topsy-turvy.
Yeah. Now I'm locked.
Yeah.
Now I'm locked.
A couple weeks ago, I decided to surprise my wife with a kid-free night out. My parents live about an hour and a half away from us, and I arranged for the kids to stay with them for the weekend. Usually, when I go to my parents, I'm gone until later in the evening. We spent all day there and leave around dinner time. This time, I was dropping off the kids and immediately going back home so I could surprise my wife and we can go out as soon as possible. I had made reservations at a nice restaurant and was hoping to go to a few places for some drinks first. I left at 8:30 and was back in our house planning before 12:30. As I pulled up onto the street, I saw a truck parked in front of the house. I didn't recognize it. I assumed it was someone seeing the neighbor though, because it's not unusual for someone to park in front of our house. I parked a few houses away, thinking I would sneak into the house and surprise my wife instead of pulling into the driveway and going in through the garage. I went in through the basement door. I was as quiet as I could possibly be, But as soon as I walked in, I heard them making sounds on the floor above.
Oh my God.
When
My
I
heart would be on the floor.
when I first heard it, I thought she was just by herself, maybe having some personal time. I didn't want to interrupt her privacy or embarrass her, so I was just going to go back in the car and just go in the garage so she would know I was home. Then I heard a man's voice. I immediately felt sick. My heart felt like it was going to explode out of my chest. It's hard to describe how I felt in the moment. I decided to go upstairs. I had no desire to confront them. I just wanted to see what was going on. I moved slowly and quietly and went up the stairs.
My heart's really beating. I'm not even joking. My heart is literally beating on my chest as we
Bro,
speak.
it's nuts.
I'm really locked in.
I moved slowly and quietly and went up the stairs. The door was halfway open. The kitchen was empty, but I could tell they were in the living room. It was obvious what was going on at this point by the sounds. There was no way for me to look in the living room without me being seen. I pulled out my phone and opened the camera app. I put my phone just around the corner. I could see my wife with a man I didn't recognize. I won't go into detail on what they were doing, but I think you can figure it out. I started recording it. I was thinking that I need to record it. I need a record of it for whatever I decide to do with it in the future. I just stood there in the kitchen, watching this all unfold on my phone screen. I felt like I could just scream at any moment, but for some reason, I just froze completely. This went on for several minutes.
Oh my God.
She finally jumped off him and made a comment about going to the bedroom, and they went upstairs. She even made a comment about how much time they had left. I walked into the living room and found the guy's pants. I took his wallet out and took pictures of his driver's license. I know his name and his address.
Wow.
I've never met him. I have no idea how he knows my wife either. I left the house the same way I entered. I went back to my car and cried like the pathetic man I am. I decided to watch the video to make sure I recorded it. I watched it all. I sat in my car for at least half an hour. I couldn't drive to my parents and get my kids, as I would have had to explain why. I decided that I would pull in the driveway, open the garage, and just pretend like I was there to surprise her. I took my time getting into the house. I made a lot of noise. When I saw her, she was very flustered, asking me why I was home, etc. She was in a robe, and she said she was just getting ready for a bath. I told her about my plans, and she seemed excited. She poured us both a glass of wine, and she said we should pregame before getting ready. I don't think I talked very much. She took me into the living room. I'm not proud of what I let happen. I'm gonna read this bit slowly.
Stop.
She took me into the living room. I'm not proud of what I let happen. I could faintly see the guy sneaking downstairs, going into the basement, but I didn't say anything or do anything.
Oh.
I just let my wife continue doing what she was doing to me.
Oh.
Wait a minute. So, did she want chance? I mean, she went from. I mean, he witnessed all this going on with his wife and this strange man. All of this going on, recorded it, everything. Watched him sneak out. Did she even take the time to did she get like a baby wipe or something to, kind of refresh down there or anything? But oh wait, let me I gotta hear this one.
Wow! Wow! He was getting top from his missus, and then he saw next man walk out of his
Didn't even
yard,
say nothing.
and he just sat there and
Just took it.
just
took it.
Oh my God!
Since that day,
This is really real.
yeah, since that day, I've watched this video of her repeatedly.
Mhm.
I can't bring myself to make any decisions on what I should do next. She seems to know something is wrong with me because she's asked me a few times if I'm okay. I feel worthless, and every time I hit a low point, I watch the video again.
Oh my God!
I feel like I've watched it at least 10 times a day since I've caught them. What should I do?
Trauma.
Question: do you reckon he's fat?
Oh, Christ.
It's dark.
It's dark, but I
10 times a day, you man.
yeah,
That's
I
insane.
think
How does that
he's
make you
probably
feel better? Oh my!
I think he has, but in like a crying state.
Yeah, like a
type-
shameful.
Like a shameful. Yeah,
Oh God!
I think he has.
This story right here is exactly how villains are made. But I'll tell you guys, if this ever happens to any of you and you're married, do not confront them immediately.
Right.
Go consult with a lawyer
Yeah,
immediately.
I agree.
You must start, because the lawyer may suggest a way in order to increase the chances or the likelihood of a positive outcome for you in a divorce. The lawyer might need additional evidence, additional data in order to increase the chances of you getting a favorable outcome. But it's my thought that he keeps on looking at the video as a trauma response to sort of normalize what has happened to him. I mean, this is your wife, dog, and you watching her get her back twisted in front of you, and his soul now is probably crushed, probably really loves the woman, really loves the kids, was doing things for her out on her anniversary, and she's over here cheating on him.
Hunching.
Absurd. And the reason that I bring this story and situation up, not only is it an entertaining story, but I think back to the original Psychology Today article where they're justifying this sort of behavior, and they could justify it all they want, try to normalize it as opposed to normalizing discipline and not being a slack, because obviously there's some real victims, right, that become of that. It's always interesting when we have like a cheating based discussion, how many people just assume that cheating is just a male thing. It's about 50-50. Men are cheating at the same rate as women are. But all right, guys, I'm out of here for right now. Write me your thoughts, questions, comments, concerns down in the comment box down below. I appreciate you guys for rocking with me with this amount of time here today. Hopefully you enjoyed your stay, because I know that I did. Until next time, YouTube. Peace.
All right. Shout out to MTR. Mediocre Tutorials and Reviews. That is his channel. Please subscribe. He's a big YouTuber, and again, you know, I am a fan of his content, and I've enjoyed that. And yeah, like I said, I'm just watching it in real time, and I just wanted to share my reaction to it. I mean, it's just you know, just how, you know, women feel about, and I know a lot of women feel like I'm gonna do a you on you. And so when that, you know, that man, you know, sharing that story from the other podcast, I guess, you know, a lot of women may feel like, oh, you know, you can't, this is what a lot of women go through when a man cheats, but we're not talking about that. We're talking, you know, this is his story, and it is yeah, it doesn't make it any less wrong. Okay. And so just in a nutshell, I just feel like whatever you decide to do, whether you want to decide to date or maintain a platonic relationship with someone, when it comes to cheating, I just know, I personally, I don't find it at all justifiable. I do not like cheating. That's the worst form of betrayal. No matter how you want to try to sugarcoat it, you can't put sugar on. Okay. We just been normalizing it for years, you know. It's like, oh, you made a mistake. You made a mistake. You made a mistake. No, you made a choice. It's a choice, people. You made a conscious decision, because I feel like there's so many steps to cheating. It's like, you know, when you hear people say it doesn't mean anything to them, it had to have. It must have been something about that individual, and I'm talking about men and women. It had to be something about that person to make you want to take it there, you know. And then you want to sit there and say, oh, it was nothing about what you done wrong, or it's not this and not that, I was selfish, I was this, I made a mistake. You made a premeditated decision because it was something about that person, because it steps to this, you know. You had to plan it, or there's a process, whether you do it at a hotel, or you do it in the car, or if you want to really be froggy and be disrespectful in the marital home, wherever it is, there's a location, there's a time, you know, there's affection going on, because you don't get right into the act, right? There's steps, there's kissing, there's fondling. You gotta remove articles of clothing. And within that time, you don't think to say, no, this is not right. I can't do this. You know, within all that time that it took for you to get to that point, you couldn't resist at all. You know, there was, you know, you figured there's no time for you to resist at all. You know, you're just going to keep going on with the act, and you're going to tell me that there's nothing about this person that made you want to take it there to the point where you're willing to sacrifice your marriage. You're willing to jeopardize your marriage. You're willing to risk the consequences. you know, because I feel like being in a marriage, you're two consensual adults that decides to embark on a sacred union, and I do believe in those things. I still value those things, and I do still take those things seriously. Now, although I do think some of the vows, the traditional vows, are very barbaric, and they need to be changed because they need to be more realistic, right? You need to make sure that you're on the same page when it comes to what the expectations are when it comes to monogamy. Now, I know there's a lot of people that practice polygamy, open relationships, open whatever, open sesame, whatever, but there has to be a common ground. If you're going to go that route, or if you agree to explore that with someone, make sure that something is within your heart and desire to do. Because there's a lot of people who go along to get along. A lot of people that they agree to an open relationship, or they agree to a polyamorous relationship. They don't or even, decide to do the threesome thing, or a menage a trois. That's the same thing. A menage a quattro, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, they're willing to accept certain things that they know they don't want to. Don't have the mindset to do, or don't have the desire to do, or they don't agree they don't agree with it in the beginning, but they are willing to accept it for the sake of being with that person. They want to be in a relationship, or they want to be with that person so badly that they're willing to accept those particular terms, which is something they don't want to do. And that's a recipe for disaster. I think there's a time where you just need to wait on the Lord, or whatever if you're not a believer, I'm not forcing you to be, but I just feel like if you understand your worth, you should go for, you should be with someone that matches your desires, matches your standards. Okay, because you subjecting yourself to things in a marriage that you don't really want to subject yourself to, you're not really it's not going to end well for you. Okay, so when you enter into a union, there has to be communication. I think there should be counseling involved in every aspect. Before, during, there should be some guidance in between, but effective communication between both parties. But the whole idea of cheating, the whole idea of infidelity, period, within a marriage, and finding it to be acceptable. And now it's gotten to the point where now there are they're trying to find medical clinical reasons to why it is acceptable. You know, like what's next? You're gonna try to make it biblical too. And like I said, you're going to try to make it biblical too, that infidelity, cheating, and betrayal is okay within a marriage. Let's not open up that floodgate. Let's not take it there. If you know that this is something that you want to explore as far as other people, then stay single. Don't put yourself in a position, don't put the other person in a position where you want to make the person believe that monogamy is something that you're gearing towards, but it's really not. Like, why would you put yourself in that position? And why would you want to allow someone else to be in that space with you and invest their time and their energy and emotions into you, if that's not something that you are not equipped, you're not equipped to doing? Why would you want to put yourself in that position? Doesn't make any sense to me. It really doesn't. But I just wanted to react to that. I don't think I'm going to be coming back on. I mean, I might. I'm not. I'm not going to say I'm not. I may or may not. Who's to say? But I appreciate you tuning in, and I will be back sooner than later. Good day.